Australia's Brekkie Boy are among the performers coming to Calgary for the JazzYYC Summer Festival. The festival runs June 23rd to the 29th at multiple venues around town, including Studio Bell and the Bella Concert Hall. And joining me is JazzYYC Artistic Director Cody Hutchinson. Great to have you here.
It's really wonderful to be here.
So first of all, tell us about Brekkie Boy.
So Brekkie Boy is one of the more unique bands coming to the festival. They're from Australia. As you asked me a question before we went on, is the keyboard player actually a former WWE wrestler, which is what he says in his bio. There's a chance, maybe, but he also says that currently he's working on ice hockey on the beach.
Yeah.
So they're a lot of fun. They're really tongue-in-cheek, but they are world-class musicians. They've been touring around North America, Europe, and all of the comments about them is they're one of the best live bands you will ever see.
Oh, that sounds terrific. Another headliner is Artemis, and this is an all-female jazz group, which is pretty unusual, actually.
It is, and it was formed, I think, just post Me Too movement, where there was a real look at jazz in the demographics as far as men versus women on instruments, and the number of women who play instruments in jazz is about 5%. So it's led by a Canadian, Renee Rosnes, who's originally born in Saskatchewan, raised in Vancouver, and considered one of the greatest jazz piano players on the planet. Ingrid Jensen on trumpet, who is one of the greats, also from Canada. They were signed to Blue Note Records, which is kind of the history of the art form. They're a Grammy nominee, and they'll be kicking off the festival for us on June 23rd.
Sounds great. Another one of the headliners, and Canadians may be familiar with this name, Molly Johnson.
Yeah, Molly Johnson, if you were a fan of pop rock music in the early 90s, you knew Molly. And then she's won Juno Awards for jazz. She did a tribute to Billie Holiday. And to my knowledge, we're the only Canadian festival that she will be appearing at this year. And so we're super excited. Studio Bell, June 26th.
Yeah, such a beautiful venue as well. We also have the Mike Stern Band. He's a jazz guitarist. This guy, he's the real deal. He has played with Miles Davis, right?
Yeah, so when you talk about living greats on the jazz guitar, a lot of people will mention Pat Metheny, they'll mention John Scofield, or they'll mention Mike Stern. So he's one of the big three, and he is amazing. He's energetic. His music is really intense, it's fun, very rock-based. And I know for drummers, there's a lot of drummers excited about this show because he has one of the greatest drummers alive, Dennis Chambers, who I don't think has ever played in Calgary, at least not in the last 20 years or so. So it's going to be exciting. It's at the Bella Concert Hall. It's one of the big shows on June 25th. And
you also have, for those who are really into guitar, you have a workshop with him as well.
Yeah, so Mike Stern graciously agreed to do a workshop at Studio Bell in the Drop-In Center the same day, June 25th at noon. So all you have to do is go to our website, JazzYYC.com, register, and head on over on the 25th, and you'll get to hear from one of the greats.
So when you program a festival like this, how important is to get the balance right of the different types of jazz, but also reflect local artists and Canadian artists?
Well, that's the thing. Obviously, right now with the climate as it is, we've got a lot more Canadian artists, I think, than you might expect in an international festival, and they're all world-class artists. But trying to get that balance, really, for me, is our goal isn't to preach to the converted. Like, we know the people who love jazz will be there. We want to give a nice wide sampling of the styles of jazz, whether you're someone who's like, maybe I'll try vocal jazz or straight ahead jazz or something like Brekkie Boy or Mike Stern funky jazz, those kind of things. We're always just trying to create a wide spectrum so that you can kind of go, a la carte and say, this is the music that I might give a shot.
One thing I think is really cool is you have this late night series at the Sandman Hotel downtown, and there's the opportunity for some of these big stars after their gigs to come in and sit in with local artists.
Yeah, this is something that I, as a musician myself, have been to a lot of different festivals around the world. one of the things that musicians love is the late night jams. So we set it up about 2 years ago at the Sandman, where the artists will be staying, and then they can just putter on down into the bar, and what they see is these great bands. So we're putting some of the best artists that Calgary has on stage, and they can just say, okay, you know what, I'm going to sit in with this band. And so we have a guitar player hosting the night of Mike Stern and things like that. So there's going to be a lot of really fun events going. I think it's Wednesday to Saturday. There'll be jazz every night at the Sandman, and you can go there, and it's one of the cheapest tickets too for the festival. I think it's $15.
Okay, we've talked about Brekkie Boy, we've talked about some of the headliners. Give us like a rising star, like some nugget of that you're particularly looking forward to.
And there's so many this year. Obviously, Brekkie Boy's one of them. There's a group called the New Jazz Underground. They're from New York. It's a trio usually. It's a trio without a keyboard player or a guitar player, so we'll say cordless trio. It's trumpet, bass, and drums, but they're also this year coming with an artist named Isaiah J. Thompson, who's one of the greatest young jazz players on the piano alive. And so they'll be playing at the Ironwood during the festival, so that's one I'm really excited about. And then anybody who loves the blues, we've got Delvon Lamar, who is like one of the all-time greats. He'll be playing at Mikey's Juke Joint on the Saturday night of the festival on the 28th, and we know that he's going to be a lot of interest in that, so we put 2 shows on. There's an early and a late show, or you can just buy a ticket for both.
And you've mentioned a number of venues. They're all over the city as well.
Yeah, we try and stay somewhat on the Music Mile along Inglewood to National Music Center, but we're also at the Bella Concert Hall, we're at Mikey's, and we'll have some preview shows at Stephen Avenue Mall that'll be happening actually starting this week on the 5th, and so every week we'll have a show out there just letting people know, hey, jazz is coming.
Awesome. Sounds like a ton of fun. Okay, thanks very much for joining us.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
And the JazzYYC Summer Festival runs June 23rd to the 29th. For tickets, you can visit jazzyyc.com/summerfestival.